This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on!
Game on!
We are back with another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast. DocNoyes, Wade Hampton, Paul Rank, and Sean Sullivan, who just woke up from a nap after recovering from Saturday. So welcome, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
We're going to get into the all the fun stuff, getting the details, Chicago Expo, the Blackhawks coming there, all that good stuff here in just a couple minutes. Want to touch on a few different things. First of all, the drink of this evening was delivered directly to me in St. Louis on Saturday by fellow collector Bill Gaber. He left Vegas at 1 o'clock in the morning, landed in St. Louis at 9 a.m., had gotten checked into his hotel. I met him up at the rink because I was playing in the game before the Blues, and brought me some Golden Knights whiskey, official whiskey of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So that is in my old fashioned this evening, and thanks to him for that. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Along with the drinking. Oh, yes. Paul showing off the bottle on video.
Thank you,
it's
Bill.
good stuff. It is
Oh,
smooth.
it's excellent.
Yeah. A very nice bottle of that. And if you're out that way or you're coming to the expo, I bet we can get some picked up for people. Our sponsor this evening, as always, Mitch from the Drink Your Face Off line of barware and clothing. Sean holding up a puck as well. Paul's got all kinds of Drink Your Face Off stuff, and I know Wade's got some too. Yes, and making cups now. The Masked Men of Teal. If you like those things. Speaking of the Masked Men of Teal, I was half teal when I played, and thanks to all of you collectors who did donate money to the Pucks for Autism. The link I'd put up there means a lot. One, I finished in first place for the St. Louis group, so means a lot, and I got thanked by the guy that runs the whole thing, so that was nice. My pads were actually teal, thanks to Paul's help earlier this year. A pair of Arundel Sharks pads, and they stopped well. I made all the saves I made were low pad save stuff. So, and when the puck hits off those, it makes a nice loud thump, and I love it. So, thanks to everybody that supported me, all that. If you are friends with me on Facebook, or I think my page is just open, if you want a good laugh, go look on my Facebook page. There are a group of pictures that I stepped on the ice, made 3 strides, and then completely slipped and fell right on my ass. Stuff went flying everywhere. My helmet ended up at center ice. It was funny. And then one of my friends who happened to be skating with me this year, his daughter caught the whole photo sequence of that. So you can go on my Facebook page and check that out if you want a good laugh. Thanks to Chris Groth for joining us last week. That was always a fun show. We have got guests booked, not next week because we're still kind of sorting out the schedule with Thanksgiving, but the next several, and we're planning all the way into January for guest scheduling right now. So it's a good problem to have. I love that. And we'll get into the conversation here in a bit on some of the other topics that we'll cover coming up. Auctions, classic auctions ongoing. They've got about 14, 15 days, somewhere right in there. I should have got the exact countdown, but there. NHL Auctions has a couple things going on. The Sabres have their North American Heritage Night practice jerseys. Those end on November 23rd. And Pens and Nashville Global Series jerseys are out there. Pens are warm-ups and first period. Nashville is second period. So that's kind of a weird decision of who got what where. But those are both out there. I forgot to put when they close, but I think it's December the 1st. Somewhere right in there, those close out. So those are out there as well. That's from the auction side of things. That is everything I have for now. The other thing that dropped today that we want to get people's thoughts on is the Winter Classic jerseys the game being played in Miami. I still find that kind of cool. So we'll see how the ice does, how they do that whole thing. But we'll start with Florida. What do you think, gents?
I personally love them. The tan glove and pant combo is always a favorite of mine for the harkening back to the olden days, especially with such an old storied franchise like the Florida Panthers. Um, but you know, but overall, like I love the crest, I love the jersey. I think these were a home run. I mean, I like the numbers on the shoulder, on the sleeve. I can't see the shoulder patch yet, but I mean everything about that really does look pretty good. Little barber pole on the socks. I mean, it's hard not to think that's kind of sharp.
And I like how they did that down the arms too, that same barber pole look. I do also like that they put a nice patch on the pants as well.
Yeah, and again, the NHL is sticking with this single color number theme, which has been kind of from what we've
And
seen
the
a lot
higher arm placement too.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely seeing a lot of that. So they stuck with that. They're consistent. So I really like that jersey.
Sean, what do you think?
Is the crest like a felt type of thing? I mean,
It's hard to tell from the picture, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what I see.
yeah.
And-
So
and
they're trying to make it like a throwback, even though like Wade said, it only goes back. They go back 30 years or roughly. So yeah, no, I think it's okay. It seems to me like the crest is unusually low. It's almost like down on the belly rather than up near the chest, which seems odd.
Doesn't that seem like it would leave room for both the seat, like the captain's patch, and then if they end up wearing them with a sponsor patch as well, right?
Yeah, maybe it looks low in that picture at least. So
It certainly does. I'm not just.
Yeah,
totally,
there is a lot of space between the NHL logo and that, and you're probably right that it is those patches because as we've seen in past years with the Panthers, especially when you get into the Cup, crap doesn't fit on the front up top anymore.
So the Blues a couple years ago, the Blues last Winter Classic jersey, I remember thinking that the St. Louis seemed really low on that jersey as well, and it did when there wasn't anything on it. But then whenever they wore them with the sponsor patch and like the ones with the A and the C, definitely filled out that space a little bit. So I mean, I'm assuming the NHL has probably got a whole slew of people smarter than me and you guys who are at least trying to make these things look good.
Oh, for
Don't
sure.
count on it.
Yeah.
Well, we could be the best ones. Who knows? Paul, what do you think?
I'm mixed. I do like the throwback retro look. And Penn State this past weekend on Friday wore their retro jerseys with the same color pants and gloves as this, and it looked fabulous on the ice. I mean, but with white jerseys, with different logo. I do love and so I do like that aspect of it and what Penn State did this past Friday. The stripes look really cool. The logo, I have a little bit of an issue with. It looks like they took their Panther and exposed it to radiation or something. It seems like some sort of it's like going to be a Marvel series or something, bit by a radioactive spider or something happened.
Bit by a radioactive rat.
No, that would be even better. And I'm sure that Stanley, his estate is working on it right now. And if he's working on it, I'm a little bit worried. But it's okay. And I do like the patch, as Sean mentioned, on the pants. That's pretty cool, with the state of Florida there. And then something underneath it. I'm not exactly sure what that is. A mutant or anchor or something.
Yeah, that I've not been able to find a great picture of that. I'll see if I can hunt one up here in a bit. I do hope somewhere, even if it's that little tag that's inside the back of the jersey, that there's a rat somewhere. I really think that needs to be put out there somewhere.
Yeah, and who knows if it's in one of the patches or something. But I agree, having a rat on them would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, you've got to. All right, New York.
It looks strikingly similar to their new, like the stuff they just released.
Right.
I just don't know. I don't know where they go, and I mean, I typically love Rangers jerseys, and I love this. I don't dislike this one, but again, it looks just like what they just released for their Centennial jersey.
Yeah, not drastically. it didn't set anything off like Florida's did. It's such a drastic change. This is like, okay, it looks like any other kind of just fits the mold for them.
But and again, I think the Rangers have done like think about how many Stadium Series / Winter Classics that the Rangers have played in. Like I think we've seen so many different Ranger style jerseys over the last 15 years that it's like I hate to say nothing wows me anymore with the set, right?
Yeah.
It seems like it's one of those tan, kind of almost the same thing with Florida, that rather than a white, it's that tan color.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of different for them. I know their jerseys in doing research of throughout the 30s, 40s, and 50s, they've always been pretty similar, with the New York or the Rangers across the front. There was a year that they had like an arched Rangers with the number in the middle, I think in the mid 40s. I at some point I'd love to see them bring that back just for a different look. But yeah, there's not a whole, for as much history as the Rangers have, there's not a whole lot of variety. And I know for the Winter Classics, they tend to go for that nostalgic look. So I'm guessing they just thought, well, we'll make it tan, so it looks a little different. But
actually, though, looking at that close-up picture, that's white. I mean, to me, that looks like a very solid white.
Compare it to the snow.
Yeah, the snow is white.
Snow is white, so this is a little bit.
Yeah, just a tad.
I
And
mean,
the
like, here,
NHL seems to like that off white.
Like here, like how about putting that crest right on the make that the crest, right? If you're trying to do something different with the Rangers, I mean, drop that apple right there in the middle of that jersey, and then you got something pretty fantastic, right?
For those just listening to the audio, on the shoulder they have an apple that has NYR. That would actually be really cool as a crest. You would it's such a different thought. That would be sick. I mean, absolutely. I mean, Jesus, that would just blow it out. It's so different, And going back just a minute on the Panthers one, I was able to dig up another picture. The logo that's on the pants is the state of Florida, has the star of where the team is located, and then a hockey player in that. That's the other piece that's on that patch.
That's pretty cool.
Paul, what do you think about this?
I absolutely love the Big Apple patch. I think that looks great. And I do like your idea of if that was the big logo on the front, it might look a little bit too clownish if they were to do that. I think that might have been the concern, but since when is Fanatics worried about that? So
well, and the NHL needs to think outside the box. Come on.
No, that would be really cool. I would like it, but that seems putting something like that on the front as a big logo would be more like the old warm-up jerseys they did for the specialty days, and when they could wear them for pregame warm-ups. But I would love that. I kind of like these. They're simple. But everyone here said it right. The Rangers have had so many jerseys over the years. Where do you go? And Doc's 100% correct. If you wanted to make it unique, put that Big Apple on the front.
Yeah, have fun with it. It's a one-off game. The teams will wear the jerseys for a couple other times. Even something like this, people are going to get behind it.
Yeah. So I do have to say the Rangers throwbacks they're wearing this year, the Centennial jerseys or whatever they're calling them, just look fabulous. And
I agree.
Against the Red Wings, where they wore their blue, the Red Wings wore their red throwbacks, was the best-looking hockey game since the Winter Classic in Ann Arbor, when you had the Red Wings and Leafs doing the same thing. And
so I did just to jump in on that. I did just read that the NHL is actually pushing for color on color. We talked about that in our thing, games, which I think is long overdue.
Oh yeah, I there's a good article about it in the Athletic about it, how they got approval from the league, from the teams. They're asking more teams to do it. I think it will look. I was hoping that was a rat on what you were showing.
That's what I was hoping for when I went and looked. Yeah, it's actually the Sunshine State of Mind with the Florida Panther logo, or a Black Panther through the middle and the sun around it. Just wanted to pull a couple more pictures there, and then a Winter Classic patch being on the opposite shoulder.
So sorry to interrupt myself on that, but I do think it would be great if the NHL would.
There is a rat.
Yes, there is a rat.
Hey,
and I called it where it would be.
I love it.
Have it. They named the rat Victor E, and it is on that little tag on the hem.
So cool.
And
I
I
love it.
like too that they actually explain the striping as well. This is all coming from sportslogos.net. If you want a lot of good information, see a lot of pictures, go to their articles right at the top of the page there. But it says rooted in history, contemporary approach to the bold stripes design long associated with traditional hockey sweaters. I do, and I think that really pops. It's out of the norm. It's not the solid arms that you normally see.
Yeah, that is. I do like the arms. Is there anything on sports logos about the new? There you go, Rangers jersey. Seeing if there's any subtleties that we missed earlier. I guess not.
That's no.
We got it
Florida
all.
has all the good stuff, and I
There
get
you
New
have it.
York too.
Yeah.
Let's see. All lettering. Okay, single color blue. Did they say anything about any of them being in felt?
It looked like the Rangers were in felt. That looks. Go to the. Yeah, that. No, it doesn't. I thought it did at first, but it doesn't. It's just really tight chain stitch, like, which is really old school as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see if the
Now
Panthers
rendered
original-
with felt textures and chain stitching.
Okay.
That's the logo. Panthers original Leaping Cat logo. Vintage take on the original from decades ago.
Doing a 1930s style, the leather style glove look and all that. I like that. I mean, yes, they didn't exist then, but it's the heritage of hockey too, which definitely helps.
Well, and that's what the NHL has been doing for years. It seems like the Winter Classic is always rooted in heritage style stuff, and then the outdoor games, the Stadium Series games have always had the jerseys designed to be more modern and revolutionary, right? It seems like that's always been the NHL's direction with those two type of games.
And it talks about they had the Tropical Hockey League back in the 30s. Had 4 teams in it: the Miami Beach Pirates, Miami Clippers, Havana Tropicals, and the Coral Gables Seminoles. So that's why they did some of that throwback thing. And again, for us that don't know that history, that Florida had that's cool to see that and see them kind of look back that far and not just the existence of the Panthers themselves.
I like the name Beach Pirates. They should bring that back.
Yes. We have the Savannah Ghost Pirates, but yeah, Beach Pirates I like too.
Oh, work. Yes.
I mean, I think again, my opinion, we'll just do one more time around is of those two, who's the winner? Who's mine? I think it's Florida. Paul?
I it's so it's tough for me. I probably like the Rangers slightly better. I'm very biased against anything from Florida and anything from Fanatic. So I guess the Rangers win -1 to -2. I'm not sure really how we count on this, but
Sean?
I first glance, I like the Rangers better, but seeing the more detail of Florida, I think they scored some points with some of the subtleties, the sleeve stripes, the rat on the back. So I guess Florida wins.
Wade?
I'm definitely on the Florida end of it. Again, the Rangers jersey I think is great. I think if we wouldn't have seen such a similar style with their Centennial jerseys this year, I probably would have felt stronger about that one, because I do typically love Rangers jerseys, and not that I dislike these, but man, Florida just seems to like hit some home runs with some of these specialty jerseys, and I don't know if it's just the fact that it seems like the one thing I'm going to give Florida too is they're never tied to like one color, right? And you see that in a lot of their specialty jerseys, like we were talking about the reverse retro 2.0 and some of the different stuff they do really change the colorway a lot, and I think that leads to a lot of more exciting prospects in their jerseys, right?
Yeah, no, completely. So, Paul, sorry.
that's okay. I'm not going to get either jersey, so it's
But yeah, those I do love that they incorporated a rat. That makes me so happy because it's such a big part of the history of the Panthers, and it's neat that they put that in and kind of went out of the norm. All right, we've gone through all that. Now we need to talk about the exciting weekend Sean had.
Yeah, we put together a little show. So the Chicago Game Worn Expo was Saturday the 15th. We had a sold out room of tables. We had 40 tables. Looking at the room ahead of time, I couldn't really picture how 40 tables were going to fit in there, and it was perfect. We had to go in and do some rearranging before the show started, but 40 tables was great. I don't know that we could have fit more than one or two more in there, maybe. So it was a perfect size. We had guys coming in from all over the country. We had somebody fly over from the UK to go to the show. It was phenomenal. The Blackhawks were there. We finally, I swear it's been 2+ years where I've been talking to them to try to get them kind of out of their cave, so to speak, and bring some of the hundreds and hundreds of jerseys they've been sitting on for the last several years. So mission accomplished there. They came out with some great stuff, and it was phenomenal. I think I just tallied up the number of walk-ins we had. We had 60 admissions, so 60 paid admissions. So it was a happen show. There were deals going on all day, the night before, the night after. It was a ton of fun. And as I'm sure Wade and Paul can both attest, as the host of these things, man, it is just a blur, just nonstop, talking to people constantly. I ran around and took pictures at one point of everybody's table, and had to go back and look at the pictures to see what was actually there, because I never got a chance to really look through anybody's stuff. It was such a whirlwind, but it was absolutely fantastic. The weather was great. We went to the Hawks game that evening. A lot of us, besides the traffic getting there, it was just a great day. Great day.
So when the Hawks got there, especially because they've not opened up their giant storage facility of jerseys like you said. So first, when they got there, were they just impressed with what was in the room that they walked into?
Oh yeah, so there was two guys from the Hawks that came out. We helped them unload their bags. They brought, I want to say it was 4 or 5 equipment bags, just stuff with jerseys. They were pretty much floored by the stuff that was in the room. I mean, there were Hall of Fame quality Blackhawks jerseys there. There were game worn Bobby Hull, Stan Mikita's, 61 Cup final jerseys. Wolves. There were, there's Eddie Belfour mask, several other masks in the room. It was just a room full of Blackhawks history, and I think even better, there were full tables of Rangers jerseys, of Kings jerseys, Pittsburgh jerseys. There was so much variety in the room. Obviously, there was a lot geared towards Chicago, but there was also just so much cool stuff in there that I know they were blown away. The response for them and for the show in general was so awesome that they said they're definitely coming back if we do it again next year.
So what did they bring in? Kind of how was their setup done and price?
Sure. So they brought out several sets of shirts that had not been previously offered. I think the highlight was the Reverse Retro 2.0s, which was the kind of barber pole black, red, white striped jersey that just said Chicago across the chest.
A beautiful jersey.
Yeah. And so they didn't bring out any of the bigger name players. So there wasn't, the Duncan Keiths or the Jonathan Taves or anything like that. But basically anybody below that level was there. And they had flat pricing, which was nice. So any Reverse Retro 2 was one set price. They had both sets of the white 35 patch jerseys. So the Tony Esposito Memorial patch, which was worn a few seasons before that. I think I could get my dates wrong here. It's been a long day for several of us on the call.
All good.
I think they were 20, 21, 22 maybe. And so they brought those out for the first time. Those all had a set price, no matter who the player was. They also had white Rocky patch jerseys, which was just from a couple years ago. Rocky Wirtz, the owner, passed away suddenly. So they had a bunch of those as well. They had a limited number of the Winter Classic style jerseys that they wore last year. They were all game issued, but it was still cool to see those.
Yeah,
There's like
and be able to get that style if you couldn't.
yeah. There was Taylor Hall. There were several good names in there, but they just weren't used because the guys were gone or whatnot. And then there was also a really big, and this is like the kind of stuff I wish I had time to kind of paw through. There was a big pile of like training camp worn jerseys, like from the rookie tournaments and that type of thing, and those were all a set price. So it was nice. It was basically they were priced based off of which set you were taking the jersey out of. And it didn't matter the player. So, there was for the reverse retro 2.0s, Max Domi, uh, McCabe, Mrazek, all those guys were all the same prices as some of the lesser players, but it took the confusion out of it at least. So
now were the prices reasonable?
They weren't bad. So reverse retro 2.0s, they were 1,000 a piece. The 35 patch and I think the Rocky patch were 800 a piece. And then there was a $600 price point, a $500 price point for some of the game issued stuff, and then like the rookie tournament jerseys were like 300, I think. So, and it was surprisingly nice wear in a lot of the jerseys. There were some that just were littered with repairs, burns, marks, all sorts of stuff. There were some red Rocky patches, and I think those were a lot of game issued and rookie tournament type of shirts. But yeah, there was a lot to look through, and I know there were numerous shirts that had at least 10 plus repairs. It was a great variety of stuff.
Wow, yeah, I'd say they definitely opened their vault when they have been so stingy with those things before, and as we've talked multiple times on these podcasts, is with the how much it's appreciated. The NHL teams are now working with us at these different expos to bring stuff, and even talking to Bill Gaber on Saturdays, how excited he is to have Vegas Authentics at the Frozen 4 Expo and all these things. And we keep hearing more and more teams getting involved, and that's a huge thing. And I mean, when's the last time the Hawks have made those many jerseys available at once?
That many at the same time, they haven't done that for forever. They probably going back to like Hawk Quarters when they would release sets and sets of jerseys there at the Blackhawks conventions, which went on for years, and that's why we hadn't had a Chicago Expo for so long. Is those Hawks conventions were basically like a Chicago Expo. So all the Hawks jersey collectors would get together and we'll go have drinks in somebody's room and just bid on jerseys and have a great time all day. So the last one that was in Chicago was the one that I know Paul was very involved with for the Frozen 4 in, I think it was 2017. So we hadn't had an actual proper expo since that one. And yeah, when the Hawks had been selling stuff, it's been very piecemeal. I think we detailed that on whatever episode I was on a long time ago, where they've released things here and there. They had done an auction last year of one set of the white Rocky Patch jerseys, which was totally out of the blue, and the first time they'd done something like that in forever. But yeah, this was a great step. Other than this, they're listing things very sporadically on their website. Some of the higher end stuff is being put up in basically game day auctions that go usually 2 games. So they'll one started on Tuesday and it's going to end, I think, on Friday or Saturday, the next Hawks home game. Sunday, I think. I don't know. So it's been very inconsistent. So it was great just seeing all this stuff in one spot and just being able to go through it and all that type of thing was amazing. So
awesome. I'm so glad that they didn't just throw you a handful of things. Oh yeah, this will we're not going to do much for you. I mean, it sounds like they opened the vaults and really gave at all price points for collectors, which is really great too.
Yeah, it's great.
So hopefully that continues to work out going forward. So talk about some of the other collectors that made it out, some of the stuff you saw.
Yeah, so like I said, so many just impressive Hawks jerseys. there was some phenomenal masks in the room. Marc-Andre Fleury's, the Barney Brodeur, several of which, not the Fleury's and the Brodeur, but there were several for sale as well. With Double D Cocky, they came out from Pittsburgh. We had a few other dealers in the room, Ice Violence and Hunter Lanes Into the Boards. They just brought a huge variety of different jerseys and that type of thing. And then, like I said, there was phenomenal Kings jerseys, phenomenal Rangers jerseys. There was a big case of goal scored pucks, including like Gretzky's and Jagers and all sorts of Red Wings and that type of thing. There was so much to see. George Arbicus with his he brought out the or no, I think it was the Reckies this time. So he brought out the Reckies and had those on display. There's a bunch of college stuff there with Jay Fielder had his Western Michigan jerseys, which they've had so many awesome looking styles. Those were all on display. There was a very good mix, and I know a lot of people in the past at expos have said, everything's just for show. There's nothing for sale, and I think at least at this one, there was a lot of stuff that was also for sale. So it was a great mix. Chris Jarena and a couple of the guys here locally had Milwaukee Admirals, Chicago Wolves, so we had a good AHL contingent as well. So it was definitely a great mix. A lot of different stuff going on.
It's fun to see different leagues, different levels.
Yeah.
Because even if we don't like that team, it's cool to lay your hands across it, even if it's a special player or seeing how repairs are done, whatever it is. It's not stuff you get to see every day. It's just the history in the room.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was Marc-Andre Fleury's 500th win jersey was there. It was just phenomenal stuff. There was probably, I don't know, maybe a half dozen Ovechkin jerseys in the room. Just stuff you never get to see. Solani's, it was just banger after banger, I guess. There was the Rangers collector had Brian Leetch jerseys that the Hockey Hall of Fame would be jealous of. I think it was his rookie. There was a 94 Cup final, all sorts of stuff. There was a guy that just had Belfour stuff. So his entire table was just at Belfour game used equipment and that type of thing. So kind of fun that I had was I own one of the reverse tomahawk jerseys from 87-88. One of the Hawks goalies, Bob Mason. Also in that room was the reverse tomahawk of Darren Pang. So both goalies from the reverse tomahawk set were in the room. So
that's fun.
We took some pictures, and there were some replica masks with both of the jerseys. So it was probably the first time those have been reunited since 1988. So
wow.
Yeah, it was great. There was rookie Kane and Taves jerseys there. A 1961 Stanley Cup final Al Arbor. There was just so much great stuff. It was great.
In addition to all the collectors and stuff you have there, and the Blackhawks, first off, the pricing you described from the Blackhawks is incredible, because I know some of their older stuff, well, when it came out, was priced much higher than that. So that was wonderful for you guys. But also, you have the Chicago Wolves had a presence there too, is my understanding. So just touch on that briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 17, when we had the previous expo, I know the Wolves had sent some stuff with one of the collectors, Derek Christensen, to be available at the show. So I reached out to them, Courtney with the Wolves, who I've had a great relationship with for a long time, and just said, hey, we're having another expo in Chicago. If you'd like, we can have you set up a table. You can send some people out. They had a game that day themselves as well. And she's like, so I can't spare anybody, but I can send you with some shirts. So I went and picked up a dozen jerseys, brought them out to the expo. Unfortunately, we haven't sold all of them, but we sold 4 of them. And all that money goes to the Chicago Wolves charities. So, it was just a great little thing we could give back for them. So, and there were some neat shirts in there, like Calder Cup Finals jerseys, 30th anniversary patch jerseys, a couple of their Storm alternate jerseys. So it was a great variety that they gave us. So,
are you still offering those if anyone listening is interested?
Yeah. In the various Facebook groups, I put a post up of the 8 that are still available. There's also like a first year 94, 95 Wolves jersey. Those are super tough.
Oh,
So yeah, those are still available. If anybody's interested, reach out to me or just find my posts, and you should be able to find what's still available.
Nice. I know those first year ones are really tough to find, and
Yeah.
they're super nice too. So
Yeah, and the patch is a really nice looking patch. The IHL 50th anniversary patch was that first year of the Hawk of the Wolves. So yeah, no, that was awesome. That was awesome. So and I as well, after we accounted for all the expenses of the show, what was left over, we also donated those funds to the Blackhawks Foundation. So it was nice kind of giving a little to the Wolves organization, their charity, and the Blackhawks charity as well. So we try to cover both bases as a thank you for them coming out to and supplying stuff to the show. So yeah, it was awesome. And I don't know, walk-in traffic wise, if 60 is a little or a lot for an expo, but it seemed like we had a pretty constant flow of people walking through. So it was good. I mean, from all accounts, from everybody, the only complaint that I had heard was the room got a little hot, with all those people flowing through. We tried to open the doors, but when we tried to open the doors, like people would try to come in the doors, to the outside. So we had to watch that pretty closely. But other than that, everything was great. So it was an amazing day.
Ice cold beer can solve the problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, the college we were at would not allow that. So, but we did supply pizza and pop. So, I think
Yep,
I
you
think
can tell you're from Chicago if I didn't know.
Yeah, oh, totally. It wasn't deep dish, but it's close enough.
Yeah, I take that or leave it depending on the day. So, what was your absolute just favorite thing? And I know you were super busy, but
Mhm.
what was your absolute favorite thing you saw in that entire room?
I had never seen up close a Bobby Hull Hawks jersey, a game worn Bobby Hull, and it was right next to my table, so I got to like stare at it every time I walked back behind my table. And that was just amazing, and the Stan Mikita too. I mean, the combination of those two jerseys. I mean, for any Hawks collector that's interested in the older stuff, those are like the two just about at the pinnacle. So those were amazing. Non-Hawks wise, I think the Marc-Andre Fleury mask that were over on John's table were amazing. And who doesn't love an Ovechkin jersey? There were plenty of those there too. So, but yeah, no, it was a great show. A great show. The demand for next year seems to be strong. So, we might be putting together another one next fall. So we shall see.
So I only want to touch on it to a point because probably it won't be till after the first year, just with holidays and our already guest booking is. And Paul, I'll kind of let you because you were more involved in the Facebook discussion. I've been super busy the last 2 days, but kind of if you want to kind of summarize that and get into that a little bit.
Yeah. There's so when you play when this expo was first announced, I got to step back some. Detroit announced their expo on a certain date. Then a month or two later, Hershey announced their expo on the same date. And then after that, I don't know, by a month or 2 months, I don't know what it was, you announced the Chicago show, all on the same date, which personally I think is really unfortunate because I think Hershey's a little bit further away, but Detroit and Chicago is close enough. I know some collectors who were at the Detroit show would have loved to have gone to the Chicago show too, and they couldn't make that work. So there's been some discussion about, the scheduling of expos, possibly doing like a national type show. We could try it out in Vegas, hint, hint. But, I want to have more of a discussion on this, and we've discussed this some, and you had a very good reason for choosing that date. It's unfortunate it coincided with the other ones, but since there's been a lot of discussion on Facebook, and I think a lot of people aren't getting the full picture, I'd like you to explain the reasoning on
Yeah,
choosing
sure.
that date, and then we can discuss more about what we can do in the future. So,
Yeah. I mean, we did considered a lot of dates. So it wasn't that we were just like, that's the one and we're done, but it did turn out to be the best date for us. And we had looked at one of the most important things because we were having the expo was planned for Chicago. It's for Chicago collectors, that type of thing. I knew that Chicago collectors from all over the country were going to be flying in for this, so it was really important for us to coordinate the expo with a Blackhawks game. We waited to announce the show until the schedule was announced, and shortly after that we picked our date and moved forward with it. And unfortunately for the Blackhawks, they only schedule Saturday games a few times a year. I think there were 4 this year. In years past, it's been like 2 or 3 maybe, which, the United Center's a busy place. The Bulls, I think, usually get priority for Saturday games. So it's really rare for the Hawks to have Saturday games. And the 4 this year, there's the one in November, there's one in December, one in January, and then like one the last weekend of the year in April. I don't know, and Paul, I know you used to live in Michigan, but trying to coordinate something where people are coming in from all over the country in December or January in the Midwest is sketchy. And that's, I think, a good way to put it. I wouldn't, try to do either of those things because the weather could just knock everything out, and everybody's plans would be tossed aside. I mean, even having an expo in mid-November is risky. We've had blizzards on Halloween in the last couple of years, so it's trying to get something scheduled in the Midwest in the winter is just out. So that really left us with the November date or the April date. So Josh Pang, who organized the expo with me, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well in a second. He is a student, and he had finals going on the April date, like right around that weekend. So he's like, yeah, I really can't do it that date. So that really left us with November date. Before we announced that, I reached out to a bunch of the Chicago guys to say, hey, is anybody planning on going to Detroit? Is this going to be a problem? And I don't know if it's the same elsewhere, but most of the Chicago guys said, no, we don't want to travel for expos. And I know, Wade, you've had similar responses. It's hard to get people to get out and go to things sometimes. I mean, it's really costly. One of my friends, Mark, who came up for the show, he flew in from Tennessee, and I think his expenses just for travel, hotel, all that type of thing, it was like $1,100. So it's rough to travel. So many folks at the expo had other things going on. They were just able to come in for half the day, or barely could make it just for the time that we had the show. So it really came down to nobody from Chicago was going to be going to Detroit, for the most part. So it wasn't really interfering, and nobody was going to go to Hershey. That's for sure. So November 15th was pretty much the date. So that's what we went with. It worked out well for the Chicago guys. It is unfortunate that Detroit was going on the same weekend, but I saw their photos. It looked like they had a good crew there. We had a good crew in Chicago. It's it's the Chicago Expo. We had a break-even point of 20 some tables, and I was really concerned that we might not hit that. And it just turned out that we had a much better response than we thought. But we really just fully expected to have Chicago guys there for the most part, and we were really fortunate to have the response that we did. So hopefully that answers.
Oh no, that makes a lot of sense to me. And this is something I'm glad we're getting it out there. Discussion. Full disclosure, I would have been really pissed if you scheduled on April 11th, because the Blackhawks home date is the date as the Vegas Frozen Four date.
Yeah,
So
it's hard. There's no perfect dates. It's
No,
hard to coordinate it all. So
And when this discussion started, I had no idea the Blackhawks had such limited games on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I do agree with the weather in December. Living, in Michigan, it could be 70 degrees in December, or it can be, -5 and,
Right.
ice
Right.
all over the roads. The nice thing about the December date would have been it's against the Red Wings, and,
Mhm.
but, you have the weather issue.
Yeah.
So, I know there were some grumblings about when the date was first selected, and after that, I do agree. Your show looked great. The Detroit show, the people I've talked to had a great time, great turnout there, lots of great displays. Hershey sounded like it was great as usual. I have not heard as many reviews or personally talked to people who were there. So it's, um, it showed it did work with both on the same day.
Mhm.
And, I totally understand your logic for doing it and appreciate you explaining it to everyone because
Mhm.
um and part of the discussion moving forward, Larry was suggesting a couple ideas, possibly alternating dates, and we're talking primarily for the big Midwest shows, which are Chicago, Detroit, and St. Louis. I mean, Minnesota's not quite as big. That's always the beginning of the season. That never seems to have a conflict with anyone. The East Coast is set. They kind of, we know when Francis's show is going to be. We know when My Gray's going to be. We know when the South Jersey show is. The West Coast, we, work together. We basically just have two shows out here. This year we're having three to the Frozen Four. Um, so, Larry's suggestion was possibly alternating years, possibly like we talked about last year with Chris Groth about doing like a national type show or rotating the big Midwest one. Um, but my suggestion, I thought, is try to coordinate the dates between alls. And I understand Wade's already locked in for next year on the date. We have no idea if there's going to be a Blues game or not that day.
Yeah.
For Sean, it's very important to have a Hawks home game, so that probably limits your options to
Mhm. Yep.
2, 3, 4 at the most dates. And like you said, throwing out winter travel, you
Right.
might have winter, or spring. I do like the suggestion that came up, like Detroit does spring or fall, you do the opposite. Wade's always going to do the fall, unless we have another Frozen Four there.
Yeah,
So,
I'm open to options. I mean, I try to lock in my October date because it kind of works in conjunction with another show in the St. Louis area because a friend of mine actually has like an autograph and memorabilia show, which typically falls the weekend before my show. And it hasn't worked out where I've needed to, but we have a gentleman's agreement to like not compete against each other's show. And then secondarily, because he does bring in some really, really high end autograph guests. The one thing that I provide to that show is a coverall for if there was ever a situation where a guest couldn't make the weekend of his autograph show. I provide the opportunity for my show to be a catch-all for, God forbid, a guy has a bad flight or like you guys said in the Midwest, weather gets bad, something gets happened, and this guy's got Albert Pujols coming in. That's a huge, huge thing, right? So if for some reason that date doesn't work, I have a venue and an opportunity that we can use that to help all the collectors in the St. Louis area or all the collectors who are sending in mail order items to get signed. So that works out well for both of us, and we try not to step on each other's toes. So and we support each other's shows. So that's one of the reasons I always lock in for when I lock in my show.
and I do like the fact you have people signing autographs at your show.
Yeah,
Which,
it's something different. And then in the same sense, like the one thing we try to always think about is um I love when Blues games fall on my weekend. And it happens from time to time. And I find it to be a pretty good thing that camaraderie wise gives everybody something to do in the evening after the show. Um, but we've also had it where it didn't work out, and we still have ended up putting together a nice dinner, and everybody goes somewhere and what have you. But it is, I agree with Sean. A game is a huge thing. I do laugh. We talk about getting people to come into town. And, this year I think we played Dallas, right, Doc, that weekend.
Yes.
So I put a thing in the Dallas group like, "Hey, if you guys want to come in for the Dallas Blues game, we're having an expo," and we got crickets from anybody who collects Dallas jerseys. So I'm shitting on Dallas right now and their collectors, but here at the end of the day, I'm calling it out, right? I feel like, hey, you guys want to catch an expo? I know you don't have one in Dallas. I'm having an expo, and you can catch your team play. But who knows? Next year, maybe it'll be a different team, and people will want to come in and enjoy that.
Yeah.
We do try for the shows we put on. I think most of the San Jose shows we've done, there's either been a Sharks game or a CUDA game that night.
Yeah.
Now, since we're using the CUDA facility, we prefer to have a Barracuda game just to make that the transition, because the bar is right next to the rink. I mean, it's in the same building. Vegas, of course, we're doing it because the Frozen Four, but we also have Golden Knights and Silver Knights games going on in the same weekend. And then LA, I think they actually prefer not to have a game. And the reason why is LA Kings Authentics can come on out and sell stuff because they're not because they have to be at the game. Mark, who runs the program there, has to go to the LA Kings game. And I should add that in right here. For the San Jose show, we're going to have San Jose Sharks Pro Shop have committed to be there. Barracuda will be there in some capacity. LA will have the LA Kings Pro Shop there. In Vegas, we already got the Vegas Golden Knights Authentics committed.
And that's one of the things that I think has been neat to see grow in our expos is that I think that's a huge part of all of them in every city is, having that your home team take part in it. We're lucky enough to have the Blues be involved in ours as well. And I think that's such a neat little niche and draw. Because it does two things. One, it lets them connect to collectors on a different level. And then it also allows collectors to have like a first shot sometimes at stuff that they haven't gotten an opportunity for before. So
and that's one of the things that Larry had posted was doing the rotating show. So like 1 year it's Detroit, 1 year it's Chicago. I can tell you after working for literally years on the Blackhawks to get them to come out.
Yeah.
I want to be consistent. I want to have another show next year because if I don't have a show next year, I'm out of sight, out of mind, and then they might not come out if I have another show in 2 years. So, I want to have another Chicago one, and if it's half the size of this one, if it's twice the size of this one, I don't think it matters as long as I have a show and we support them when they come out. Which, knowing Blackhawks collectors, we will definitely do so. I think that's
all of our. I mean, here I selfishly love the fact that the Blues come because
totally.
Let's be honest, right? But it's a huge part of our hobby, so I think that's great, and I think consistency in an expo is important. Having it, regularly, like you said, gets people onto a schedule to expect it, which is a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like, Sean, you had more of a pain getting the Blackhawks involved than we have with the Sharks or the Blues, or the Kings, and Vegas Golden Knights. That was asked them, and they're like, "Hail yes, we're going to be there."
Yeah, I think that the teams are understanding the importance of collectors a little bit differently than they did, in the past, right? I think that they're starting to see. Here you got to think the Blackhawks are like looking at that big pile of stuff and they're going, "What the hell are we doing with this?" Right? And I know the Blues have started, are opening the coffers of the huge amount of stuff that they still have, which is crazy because they've gotten rid of so much. But I know that they look at it and go, "Hey, this is a pretty easy way to get rid of this stuff," right? And that's like I think that's a cool part of our whole thing that we're all doing. Again, I think the biggest thing, and I guess I'll jump onto it, is the idea of a national show isn't as important to me as people working together to grow the hobby, around collectors and for collectors first. And the idea of our dealer vendors taking an ownership role in all of our shows, I think is also important to continue to grow them. And I've said this and I'll say it. I think it's more than just buying a table and bringing a tablecloth and some jerseys. I think that, I think we've gotten to a point in the hobby where those entities that are going to make money on the shows have to take a vested interest in helping produce the shows. And that's something I'm willing to kind of stand on top of my soapbox and say over and over again. And, what that means is probably different to different entities, but I think it's an important part of supporting the hobby, right? Not just showing up at the thing to fill the coffers of your inventory and or unload inventory.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you're referring to big time dealers and auction houses, I
I'm
think.
talking auction houses. I'm talking about dealers. I'm talking about vendor specific entities. If that makes any sense, because like again, it's easy to show up and bring a tablecloth and your stuff and take advantage of the show. It's another thing to be vested in having an interest in producing it and helping gather both collectors and other dealers to take part in them and support them beyond just showing up.
Yeah, because
And you
like
want to
Wade,
bring it, and you want to bring in Dr. Pepper too. So, don't forget those guys.
yeah, need a corporate sponsor.
No. But I mean, here, and I'm not trying to like start any trouble or be a headache in this. I just feel like, when we're looking at this in a long term, who benefits more from, I benefit from growing the hobby because I care about our hobby and I enjoy it. And I enjoy promoting our podcast at my shows. I enjoy helping the blues and gathering items for myself and also the connections. But who benefits as much as anybody else is the people who are, you know, making, making a living at it, right? And so, or not even making a living, but just, continuing to acquire and move things to, satisfy a financial agenda.
Well, Wade, like you mentioned too, is if you wanted to do an expansive show right next to the hotel that we're at is the big convention center in
Yeah.
Collinsville. It
Yeah. I mean,
sounds weird, but that place is massive. I mean, that
yeah,
would
no,
host a very, very large 100,000 or 50,000 square foot show, whatever it is.
yeah.
But
I
there's
mean,
a severe cost involved in that
yeah, for sure.
and a deep investment needed.
And that's why I say like our shows like here like Sean just discovered it with his partner. I'm sure that when you actually get into it and you see the cost of operation, and Paul knows it
Oh, yeah.
like I do, and I think that there is there's a cost involved in it. Like Sean kind of said it best by saying like, God, you were just hoping for 25 tables so you didn't have to come out of pocket on it, right?
Right.
I mean, like that becomes a thing for all of us, right? There's a vested investment in putting it together. There's nothing worse than that last week or two when you're hoping that, like, I never push anybody to pay me ahead for the tables or anything, but like when you're hoping somebody doesn't cancel so that you're 2 or 3 tables short, right? Or you don't want to have a half or empty spots in the room. I will take my hat off to Golden Auctions for my event. They financially backed the show quite a bit and put a big investment in putting up a really nice display and doing some stuff. And obviously that's a brand that's owned by, eBay at this point. And, but that's a brand that invested in my show. Right. And I think that I saw that as something that like, there's a lot of people that could really chip in, right, and be vested in these opportunities for themselves to make money. Be a corporate sponsor. Get your name on the t-shirts that we produce. Get your name on all the advertisements, and help support the hobby where so that these things can continue to happen without the burden being put on 4 or 5 regular collectors who are just passionate about it, whether or not it's us or Alan or George or any of the other guys that are putting this thing together, right? I think that's an important part of a real conversation that has to have for a national event, which could happen in St. Louis or Chicago, or somebody even said, I mean, heck, I'm open to getting on a board of people to do it in Columbus if that be the city that's the most convenient for everyone to do. But then it's going to take the people from Chicago that are promoting theirs to get their people to come, and the people from St. Louis to get my people to come, and Paul to get people to come from the West Coast. And if we're going to have a real big one and we're really going to try to put together something that is inviting to everyone, then everybody's going to have to chip in. And that's guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I mean, putting on an expo is a lot of effort, a lot, organizing, advertising, getting the folks out there, bugging people to, pay to get, their tables. And it's a lot of expense. I mean, these things, Vegas is expensive to put on. It's no doubt. I know St. Louis is expensive to put on. So it's
they're all expensive, and that's why
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. And I know that Doc, and I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I know we're talking about having a show about this down the road, and
Yeah, no, you're good.
I think this is a great entry point into that topic, and to get people to start thinking about it maybe before we do a show on it again. I think at the end, I think it's just an important conversation. Like how can, if people really want to grow it and people really want to like make our hobby a little bigger and maybe a little better, then this is a real conversation that's probably been overdue.
So I agree with you 100%, Wade. And I've traveled to a lot of expos, and I've flown to Chicago for the Frozen 4 one, Boston a number of times, Dusseldorf 4 times. I mean, that's St. Louis. Where else have I flown to? LA I usually fly to because I don't want to drive 5 hours, 6 hours. Vegas I'm going to fly to. I'm not afraid to transport jerseys flying.
Yeah.
I put air tags in there. I track them as I'm flying. I have not lost anything in transit.
It's difficult. It is difficult. I mean, it is another added aspect of it. And then,
it's a stress factor. Yes.
Oh my God, for sure. I mean, I pack up a bag. I've done it a couple times going out east, and going to France's show, which is, in my opinion, kind of the best show in the whole thing, and really the granddaddy of them all. If you kind of want to get, I feel like, as far as on the East Coast, that is the show to go to. That's like, I think Georgia's show is right in the same realm as that. But France has been doing it for a really long time. And I've had to pack up big bags full of stuff, and man, it is stressful, but there's ways to do it, right? There's ways to get your stuff where you need to get it.
Yeah. Direct flights, preferably.
For sure. Absolutely.
I always worry, like going to Germany, because you can't really fly direct to Dusseldorf from the West Coast. You have to connect in Munich or Frankfurt or some other, London or something. I always get nervous when the bags get transferred. So, I'm always tracking those. Yeah.
Use Doc's private jet, the dirty laundry jet.
It's in the shop. We'll get it back next week.
Come on, we can't even afford a Zamboni. Nevertheless is a jet. So, but
we'll eventually get there.
Doesn't Mitch have a jet?
Possibly. I'll bug him about that. So,
here, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think the biggest thing is figuring out ways to support it, and I'm really glad for the Chicago show went off the way it did, and I'm happy that you guys are talking about doing it again. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I just want to give a big shout out to Josh Payne, who I think you guys may know a little bit. He really took the podcast advice to heart. You guys said, hey, start your own expo, that type of thing. So I had been talking to Chicago guys for a while, saying, hey, we really should do this. We should really do this. But I didn't have the time to find the venue and, do all the logistics of the show. And nobody else in Chicago really wanted to either, unfortunately. But I was really interested in doing it. And I had just had a conversation with somebody at a point this summer. Not even a week later, Josh contacted me, who I've never met before. I'd never talked to before. And he said, hey, I'm a big Hawks collector, used to live in Chicago, but I live out in DC. I'd really like to get a Chicago Jersey Expo together because I've never met all of these Chicago guys, except for the couple that have gone out to Nova or to Migrate that he usually goes to. So he said, I'd really like to get this set up. And I'm looking for somebody in Chicago to partner with. And I said, ironically, this is something I was just talking about. And if you can handle the logistic part of it, finding a venue, getting us set up there, I can get us people. I'm really well connected. I've collected Hawks jerseys for longer than I'd like to admit, 30 years almost. So, I know people here in Chicago. I can get us people But if you can get the venue straightened out, and he actually went to the community college back when he used to live in Chicago, so he was very familiar with it. They were very reasonable. They were available, which I found to be one of the biggest challenges in Chicago. The price point and the availability. It's like you can find a good price point sometimes, but they're always booked because you're competing with every wedding and bar mitzvah and everything else in the area. He was able to find the venue. It was very reasonable, and the two of us, even though we'd again never met and just talked on the phone a few times, we were able to get everything organized and worked out. So I think that that's a testament not only to Josh but to the podcast here, because it really inspired him to take the initiative and get it going. So kudos to you guys for making indirectly making that happen. So it was great.
And he's reached out to me several times. Seemed like a super great guy, and I told him originally, previous to me knowing I was going to be skating in the Pucks for Autism event, yeah, I'm going to come up. I'm all excited, bringing his stuff, and felt bad when I messaged him saying, hey, this just came up. But he was super excited and very fun to talk to. But it's awesome. I'm glad that we helped kind of make that connection just by railing on it so much. And people probably get tired of hearing us say it, but us saying that and him realizing, wow, I could probably do this, helped refire an expo.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Yes, we do get annoying at times, and I've had people tell me that, but too bad.
Yeah. No, it was all good. It was all good. So it was a lot of fun, and like I said, it was I was asking around as you do, and I'm sure Wade, you do the same thing. Is hey, what didn't we do here? What could we improve upon? And everybody said this was great. I mean, I think we really kind of not trying to make my head bigger than it already is, but I think we really kind of hit it out of the park, and everything went off pretty much without a hitch. So it was great.
So one thing you did say earlier, you charge for walk-ins, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
yep.
What was the decision? Why did you make the decision to charge for that? And do you think anyone did not decide to enter because of the fee?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was nominal. It was $5.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't. It was maybe to keep keep the riffraff out, so to speak, just so just random people weren't walking in. But at the same time, when we set up the expo, we were concerned. It was a real concern of are we going to have enough tables sold to cover these costs? So it was another way to bring in some income just in case we had to. And like I said earlier, at the end of the day, we had it wasn't a huge donation, but we did have funds left to donate to the Blackhawks Foundation. So if not for those walk-ins, I don't know that we could have done that. So it wasn't as Wade and Paul, you guys both know, these aren't money makers. We're not doing these to make money. I mean, it's cool bringing everybody together, getting the Hawks out, reconnecting with collectors I've talked to for 20 years, but I haven't seen for 15 years, that type of thing. So it's great that we were able to do it. And nobody that I had heard from thought $5 was ridiculous or anything along those lines, and they were happy to pay it. And we, on the initial flyer, we said, any proceeds are going to charity. And at the end of the day, it turned out we did have some proceeds, which was nice. So
yeah, with us hosting San Jose inside a bar connected to Sharks Ice, we really can't charge admission for walk-ins. Right. Probably would not be happy. Kind of like the show in Minnesota too.
Right.
But we have, what I found was interesting, we have people come in who didn't even know this hobby existed.
Right.
And that's always been really cool when you're having the expo, when new people come in. Remember, hockey's not as big in California as it is in St. Louis or Chicago. Yeah. And it's really cool when these people come in. It's just like they had no understanding, no idea that you could actually get the jerseys that they wore out there. And it's kind of interesting introducing them to the hobby. it's a little bit then gets scary when they start hearing the price points about
Right, right.
a lot of these jerseys. But
Yeah, I think the best reactions we got were there were two security guards that would walk through on occasion, and those guys were just like floored by it. So
I'm not surprised.
Well,
That's always fun. It's fun to
yeah,
see that.
and Wade, we see some of that too because every year you host yours, there's either soccer or softball or something on a big tournament in the area. So a lot of the families stay there, the coaches and the other people. We even had it was a college staying there for I don't know if it's soccer, I think, or something.
Yeah.
But a lot of them kind of looked in the room and then Wade invited them in and were explaining some of these things. And one at least a couple of kids from England we were talking to.
Yeah. Yeah, they were Houston Baptist, I believe, University. They were in town playing soccer. Nice kids, and they came in. I guess I'm a sucker because it seems like the times I've tried to charge admission, I end up just telling people to come in for free anyways. And part of the reason is because of the venue that we use. There are so many people walking around, and I always have looked at it in that sense. I want those people to come in because, they may buy something from somebody, right? I never want to discourage that. The only time I ever charge admissions is for the autographs. So if you want to get an autograph, you pay the admission, and that goes back to the autograph. And then we donate that back to a couple different places. So again, like you said, and I guess I want to say it again, like if you want to do one of these and your goal is like, I'm going to make money, like don't.
not happening.
No chance in hell.
Like if your goal is like, I'm doing an expo and I'm going to walk out of this thing and it's going to be awesome and I'm going to make a bunch of money, like please, it's like stop now. Like that, if you want to do an expo because you love your hobby and you want to grow it, like great, jump in. But man, if you're trying to make money, it's not the game for financial gain.
very well said. And
Yeah,
true. Yes.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, at the end of the day, I think all of us do this because we love the hobby and, we love making the connections with the other people. And I mean, here, I want to see everybody else's stuff too, right? Like, that's part of it because it's one thing to have a room full of this stuff or, whatever you have at your house. It's another thing to get to like pull some of it out and show it, or, make trades or meet people and do all that stuff. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, cool. And one of the nice perks, for me at least this year, was as the Blackhawks were popping up, they're like, "Hey, do you want this?" They found one of the jersey trackers still in a jersey, and they gave me the tracker. So yeah, it was actually in an eBugs jersey. They had an
Really?
eBug jersey there, and yeah, so they still had the tracker in that one.
I'm very curious what those buttons are on it. On the top.
There's not really buttons. They're
I'm
just
gonna bet it's for charging.
Yeah, transistors. So yeah,
transistors.
you just
Okay.
yeah, plug it. Yeah, you just kind of plug it in, and it actually still says charge tag on it. I'm guessing that's going to go away at some point. So there's a little juice in here still, but yeah, it's Velcro on.
Wait, is your screen blank on yours, or does it say charge tag too?
Mine says charge tag and it's got some codes and numbers on it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well maybe that'll
Look, hey, we. I until you did that, I thought that was maybe the rarest piece I had in my collection.
Well, they said that they have different ones now. So this was
really
a few years ago, but yeah, they use a different one now. So
I mean, to me, I thought I just wanted one. I wanted to see what it looked like.
Yeah, totally.
It's like I wanted to see exactly what it was. So
I have it on a shelf next to a Fox track puck. So
Nice.
Interesting hockey technology from days gone by. So
I think we're always looking for stuff that's like unique, and you're trying to find something that's maybe a little different, right? So I mean, all the jerseys have a hole in them to stick one of these in there. So I figured at some point I wanted to own one.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground tonight, and I know, like I said, probably the schedule, and we're going to do kind of a round table, get guys from different expos around the country and kind of talking to us a little bit more. Probably won't happen until after the first of the year, just because we've already got multiple guests booked into December, and then the holidays are there. So I know December is a no-go for a lot of people, but we will get this scheduled and let everybody know ahead of time. Just kind of final round robin thing. Sean, I'll give it to you first.
So Expo was great, met so many awesome people and re-met so many awesome people. It was phenomenal. just on a personal note, if anyone out there has Blackhawks wool jerseys from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I know not very common, but my Blackhawks jersey history page right now goes back to 1955. I'm trying to work on an update to take it back to 1926. And there's a lot of eras and years that I haven't been able to find game worn jersey photos, to of tagging, close-ups of the crests and that type of thing. There's some years that I've never seen a jersey in existence other than in photos. So if anybody has anything like that, please reach out to me. Just for research purposes. I'm not looking to purchase them. I probably couldn't afford most of them. But just trying to get as many photos as I can to kind of fill in the blanks for some jerseys of that era. It's not been an easy project. It's not complete. I've got from 26 to about 1942 done, but then things get a little complicated between 42 and 55, and I'm still trying to get that era figured out. So that's it. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course. Wade.
No, I mean, thanks for coming on, Sean. Looking forward to seeing, the directions a lot of these expos go in the next year. And, Thanksgiving's next week. So I'm definitely thankful for all you guys and, the opportunities the hobby provides. And Jasper's decided to say goodnight as well. So thanks for another great show.
Paul.
First, thank you, Sean, for being on the show. This is fabulous. It was great discussing all this with you. I do think it would be interesting in the future to have more of a discussion on your Blackhawks jersey history page.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, all that research, and you're doing a great job at documenting that. And I love that page. It's incredible. And I hope more people who are listening to this go check it out. We can put the URL on the thing. I do have to take a minute or 22 to go over some totally irrelevant stuff. And that, as everyone knows, I'm totally enthralled, hooked on the World Cup qualifying, and complaining about World Cup prices and stuff. But this past week was the final big window of qualifying. And there were just some tremendous games. 12 teams from Europe have now qualified. When we last talked last week, France and England had already qualified. And over the last few days, fortunately, Germany qualified, so they'll probably be a top seed in one of the groups. Switzerland, Scotland dramatically qualified with over a 10-man Denmark. It was a winner-take-all type game. If Denmark tied, they would have gone through. Scotland scored in stoppage time and then added another one, essentially an empty net, very long goal after that. Incredible game. Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, Austria, Norway, Belgium, Croatia. So we got a lot of the big heavyweights from Europe coming over here to the U.S. There are still 4 more UEFA spots available, and that will be in a playoff happening soon with 16 teams, four groups of 4. Italy's in that, Denmark, a few other big names, Ireland, Ukraine, Turkey, Wales. But hopefully Italy gets out of there because, I would hate to see a World Cup here without them. We also had CONCACAF qualifying the North and Central America, Panama, Haiti, and Corsica, which if any of you can find them on the map, I'd be shocked, all qualified. And who was it? 2 of the teams then moved on to another playoff route where 2 other teams will come out of that. So the final 6 spots will not be known when they do the World Cup draw later in December. So that's your totally irrelevant update. It's a lot of these games were on the U.S. So it was just great watching them. There's some great soccer, and nothing to do with hockey, but it's been very, very entertaining. And looking forward to the World Cup here on U.S. soil. What was that, Wade?
It's always fun to have other hobbies, man.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we have way too many hobbies, but
don't we all? With that, again, please continue to like, subscribe. Our likes go up every week. We are almost to 200 on YouTube, so get us there. I think we're at 192-ish, somewhere right in there. The fact that the listens continue to go up, and I can chart all of this stuff out, and again, share it with friends, family, other people you think might be interested. I continue to get messages of, oh, I just found your podcast or those things, and it means a ton to us. So continue to share that out. We're not sure on show scheduling for next week. We'll probably do something, just don't know exactly what day it'll be on, because we normally record on Thursday with Thanksgiving, and a lot of us cook on Wednesday, or have games or other things going on. But we will get something sorted out. We promise to have a show. To what level it will be, or if we just talk about how we cook our turkeys, it might just be that. Who knows? But we will see you. What's
bacon wrap turkey. You got to do Chris Cross bacon wrap on it.
We should do turkeys and a full soccer breakdown by Paul. That's what we're gonna do.
Turkey and soccer. Who knows? You know what? We get into the bourbon and the heavy Dr. Pepper. We can sort.
Hey, you never
out.
know.
Right. We will see you guys all back next week. Thanks for the support. We'll talk to you again soon.